Youth soccer development is a simple math formula. I'm going to give you that formula that'll help you, the parent, to be able to look at your child and actually record information needed for you to have that conversation with a coach, a director of coaching, to use that same math formula to pick a different team to play for, a different club based on data. That's all you need is data. We're going to talk about all of this on episode 549. So it is really simple math that'll allow you to have a good conversation with your coach, the director, the technical director, whoever you need to talk to about your child's development. If you're paying a lot of money in America, which you probably are, if you think you want your child to play college, you have to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars. No, you don't. You just have to listen to my podcast and do what I say. It's very simple. But I can't give you all the information. You got to go through my podcast. But I'm just going to talk about simple math. If you're paying crazy amounts of money, regardless of that, if your child is playing, you want them to develop or enjoy the game itself and enjoy it for a lifetime so they can avoid quitting by 7th, 8th grade because they hate it because they always get yelled at, I got a simple math formula for you. So the reason I put this together, because I really wanted to educate the parents, my colleagues, anyone that surrounded me when it came to youth soccer. I use simple math to be able to educate what we're trying to do. And what we're trying to do is prepare our kids to be able to play at the next level. And regardless of what that next level is, it always gets better. And the ones that play soccer for a lifetime are typical technical players that can handle pressure in a game environment. And we want our children to be able to develop in an environment where they're allowed to fail without the sideline freaking out, the coach freaking out, and all those things. We know that happens in youth soccer, and you know you are, the ones that have no self-control. And if you don't know who you are and you think you're appropriate, but others know you're not appropriate, film them and show them what they look like so they really can pay attention to their inability to acknowledge their weaknesses of being stupid. So that would be very important. So here's the simple math formula. So what you need to do is when your child is playing, every time they get the ball, you first you want to do is calculate reps. So how many opportunities did your son or daughter get with the ball in the game? So say it's 8 opportunities in a 60-minute match. You want to calculate that. And then the next thing you want to do is calculate the time that your child is on the field, how much game time they're actually getting. And the last thing you have to do, very simple, is create averages. It's all you need to do initially. There's obviously many more stats you can do as far as their success rate and all that, which is very important. But you want to calculate reps. And you can break it down in many different ways. And I would encourage you to be very detailed on what happens. It's not about documenting things to get someone fired or anything. It's documenting your child's development so you can see where improvement lies. And you really got to pay attention to the amount of reps your child gets. And how I break it down is for my kids I'm developing, and regardless of age, youth, whether 17 on down, it doesn't matter. You have to, you want them to get many opportunities on the ball and see what decisions are being made. So calculate every time they get the ball, and then every time they get the ball, calculate, was it successful or negative? So you literally on a piece of paper, you put down one opportunity, and then you can put a plus or a minus, meaning they kicked it to their team or not. They didn't make, versus just kicking and hoping. And you calculate that. And then you calculate the time there on the field and average that out. And then after one game, you can see, all right, my child touched the ball or had 10 opportunities on the ball. And of the 10, 5 times they were successful and 5 times they were not successful. So 50% of the time they made decisions. And the question is, are they making decisions? So if they just kick the ball blindly and it somehow hits 3 people and ends up to their team, that's not a positive. That's not a decision. So you really got to break that down too. But just calculate that, and you'll get good data, and then you'll see, okay, my son or daughter played 6 games this month, and they had 45 opportunities. How many successes did they have? How many failures did they have? It's very important because do you guys not realize where the game is heading? It's heading to a very technical game where everything's thought out. If you lose a ball and you're attacking third, stupidly, just kicking and hoping and it goes to the other team, the way the game is going, you're getting counterattacked from there and you're going to give up a goal. You don't want to be that person that made that decision that caused your whole team run back 70 yards and give up a goal. You do not want to be that person. The game is evolving to that. It's only getting better. And you see it in MLS, Major League Soccer, it's becoming more and more international. Americans don't have a place to play. They can't even play in their own country. It's almost like, it's like Europe, in England, in the Premier League. Hardly any English are playing in their own league. Of course, that's the top league in the world. In MLS, it's not the top league in the world, and the internationals are taking over that as well. Why? Because their repetition is greater than our children, and they have more time on the ball than our children, and it's that simple. So if you actually go and watch the game, and we had a game this morning during COVID. Oh my gosh, there was a game this morning. My son this weekend played 2 games on Friday night in 6v6. Played a game this morning, and then he has another game tomorrow morning. He's playing a lot. And I get, all the A-licensed coaches out there, they're like, that's too much. There need to be recovery time. Shut up. We need repetition. We need game. And guess what? Who needs, recovery? It's those that run all day without the ball, and it's back and forth, and no possession whatsoever, no recovery whatsoever. Yeah, when you're doing track and field, yes. But if you actually can slow it down, knock it around, playing small-sided, do all these things, you need to play as much as humanly possible. I know in Japan, they're playing 8 hours on a Saturday, 8 hours on Sunday, all year round. All year round. Except for, I think, Japanese New Year when it falls on that day. They do that, and everyone's like, it's too much. Is it? Yeah, it isn't. ACL injuries, this podcast is going away from me. I got so many things to talk about. I cover all this stuff, but I need to recover it because I have too many episodes now. ACL injuries are on a rise, and that's with paid ACL prevention coaches and all the physical therapy and all that stuff with these strengthening exercises and them jumping hoop to hoop and all these hurdles, and they're still on the rise. Why? It's because of bad technique, because they don't play soccer. They run hard as they can into another human being and break their entire body versus thinking. So if there's repetition, if there's a focus on keeping the ball and developing that way, good things can happen. So calculate the reps, calculate the time, average it out, and then try to improve it. And it's a good talking point with your children in the car. You're heading home and you're talking to your child and, hey, good job, Johnny. You got the ball 16 times in this game, and you were successful 10 of those 16 times. You beat your record by 4. That's where things can improve. If we focus on that versus did we win? And just this morning, where my son was playing with the team. He plays on like 3 or 4 teams. And they were losing. And the parents are so concerned. They're like, someone kicked the ball up the field like 45 yards, not thinking. And they're like, oh, good. I'm like, what are you talking about? There's no thought behind it. If your child goes through a game and they're just playing defense the whole time and they just kick the ball hard as they can up the field all day, and it's really long and hard, what does that do? It does nothing except make the parents feel better about it. Your kid's not better because you guys won 3-4-0. Your kid is better when they're getting the reps of making decisions. And you want them to fail as much as possible without the fear of failure, which is hard to do. So you got to control the sideline, you got to control the coach, you got to control the club, you got to control the environment. and that's not easy to do. So, but if I can get a lot of you guys converted to do simple math and demand that your child gets better in the game of soccer through repetition with a lot of time, and focus on that, making good decisions like pass to your team, that'd be brilliant. So anyways, those are my thoughts today on this episode, and I will see you guys, I don't know, tomorrow maybe, whenever a thought appears in my head. Peace.